Good evening. Welcome to Jam Time. This is Pastor Lisa here. And tonight we know that God is in our midst. And we can see God in loving and caring for others. If you see a heart, you're reminded of love. And when we put a cross, we put a cross in front of this heart, we know and are reminded of God's love for us. And that God loves us so much that he sent Jesus to live on this earth so that we could know God better. So first thing tonight, we're going to do a science experiment so that way you can watch what is happening while I share with you our Bible story. So you can try this at home and have some fun with it. So you need 6 total glasses. And you need 3 filled with water. And in one, you're going to put in red food coloring. In another, you're going to put yellow food coloring. And in the third, you're going to put in blue food coloring. So you're going to take paper towels, and I had to cut off this much of it because it was too long. Because you want it to touch, depends on your glass, because you want it to touch the bottom of one and then go to the other. And it'll go from here down to here. And we're going to put them the whole way around and watch what happens. And we'll put this way. Let's try to get that down. And then this one goes in. So you'll need 6 paper towels, all that touch the bottom of the cup, and just kind of go around the top. And so we're going to watch what happens as I share our Bible story. Tonight's story is from John 14, verses 8 through 12. And it's about the disciples, and they were together with Jesus. And it says, for years, Philip was one of the 12 disciples. There were 12 disciples of Jesus, 12 close followers. And for years, we think 2 or 3 years, the disciples were with Jesus. And so Philip had followed Jesus to learn about God. And he learned, but he wanted to be sure. So finally he asked the question that he wanted to ask, but he was afraid to ask. Philip asked Jesus, what is God like? Show us God. Jesus looked gently at Philip. He reached out his hand and he touched Philip's shoulder. Jesus' voice was sad but loving and gentle. He said, have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know? Whoever has seen me has seen God. And Philip remembered Jesus healed people who were sick. Jesus had given thanks for the bread and fish and fed a hungry crowd. Now Philip knew for sure the answer that he had almost been afraid to ask. Sometimes we're afraid to ask questions too, but if we don't ask questions, we won't learn. And we want to learn about God, so it's good to ask questions about God and Jesus. Well, the disciple Philip had seen how Jesus had cared and loved others, so that meant he had seen God. So for my Lego creations, I have here one, and this is Jesus healing someone who was sick. So Philip saw Jesus healing people, and through that he sees that God heals people, and Jesus loved the man so much he healed him, and that shows God's love for us. We also see here is Jesus right here, and we have some bread, and here's a boy with, with some fish, but I have a carrot because I don't have any fish. And so Jesus took that bread and that fish and he fed the hungry people. And so when we see Jesus feeding the hungry people, we know that God is wanting to feed us and to have us to have the food and drink that we need. when we see Jesus, we see God loving and caring for us. Other people see God when they see us loving and caring for each other. So we're going to look and see our experiment, and it's coming along. Our red looks like it stopped a little bit. This is starting. So what happens is it shows us what happens when we love and take care of each other. Eventually, what's going to happen is that we're going to have a rainbow, because the blue and the green, or the yellow and the blue, will go into here, and then the blue will start coming up here and turn green, and the yellow will start going up in the blue. In the same way with the red, as it goes down, we'll have purple, because red and blue make purple, blue and yellow make green, so this will turn green. It will take a little bit of time, and so we may not have time tonight to see it all. This red is going down here, and the yellow and the red will start to mix with the yellow and turn orange, and it will go up and make orange. And so that's what happens. It's kind of like when we take care of each other, it's this kind of a circular effect. When we take care of one another, we make a rainbow of God's love. We create something beautiful. The colors of God's love are passed from one person to another person. And eventually all the cups will be about halfway full, because the water will go from here to here. So what happens is, in science, is it's called a capillary action. It's the ability of a liquid to flow upward against gravity in narrow spaces. It's the same thing what happens in the water. It helps water to climb up a plant's roots to the leaves at the top of the tree. The paper towels are made from fibers found in plants called cellulose. And so the water floats up through the tiny gaps between the cellulose. And the gaps kind of act like the capillary tubes pulling the water upward. So it's like we're the capillary tubes pulling God's love upward, and the cellulose is like all of God's people around us. And so that's how we see then, we share God's love from one to another. And that's our key word for tonight, love. So try to remember that for Sunday, everybody. And so this week, I'd like you to remember that when you share God's love with others, you are showing them who God is, and God is love. So hopefully we'll let this continue, and I'll put a picture on so you can see the end result. But let us go ahead and pray, if you'll repeat after me. Dear God, thank you for sending us Jesus, who shows us your love. Through that love, we see you. Help us to be examples of your love for others. Amen. Thank you all, and have a great night.